What's up, y'all? This is Alex Alonso. I appreciate everybody tapping in with Street TV. I got a conversation here with two guys that are in prison. They are both, I believe, they are both in Solano State Prison, and we're gonna find out what's been going on in the CDCR. And I'm gonna have them introduce themselves right now. Go for it, guys.
All right, how you doing, Alex, man? TC, man, about the Avalon Arts, man, and I'm just here, looking to have a positive conversation tonight.
For sure.
What's going on, Alex and Alonso? You already know it's Rob on the line. They call me AKA Shabazz. We here for positive inspiration to the people out there. We glad to be here.
Okay, can we start off by letting the people know how long you guys been down in the California Department of Corrections?
Yeah, I've been down since 2018 with a 82 to life sentence, life without parole. So that's been the time I've been down right now.
Okay, man, this TC, man, I've been down since 2005, man. You know what I'm saying, on a 42 to life sentence.
Okay, so if I do my math correctly, 2018 to now, so you've been down for 8 years, and TC been down for 20. So 28 combined years we got here on the phone.
And yeah, Alex, hey, before we dig in, man, and really get into it, man, I like for us to send our thoughts and prayers out, man, to all those affected, man, by that mass shooting up here in Stockton, California, man. Our thoughts, our prayers, man, and our condolences go out to all the families affected by that traumatic event, man. Our hearts go out to it, man. You know what I'm saying? I just want to send mine to everybody, man, and let them know we send our love to them, bro.
Yeah, I just did a little video about that incident. Apparently, they was trying to shoot at.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They were trying to shoot at one guy, and they end up hitting some some family people that had nothing to do with the shooting, from the way I understand it.
Yeah, that's what it seemed to be, and just even touching bases on that subject, that's what we doing, man. That's the importance of what we doing up in here in prison, man. Tapping in, to the youth, man, by having these positive dialogues, what I'm saying, to see how we can change the culture, man, and stop and creating victims and stuff out there in society. So, these conversations, man, is a good, starting point on trying to figure out, how can we, tap in to stop what's going on out there, man? How can we, build a bridge to the gaps that's going on out there, man? To help some of these youths out, man. That's what our aim is up in here,
Most definitely. I understand there's programs that you guys are involved in, and I guess different classes you guys take, and different organizations that you guys interface with. You want to talk about any of those things?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Rob dig. I'm gonna let Rob dig into it with you about the work he involved in here at the institution in Solano. So go on and take off, Rob.
Definitely, man, and I definitely want to put my prayers up for all the victims that was actually in that case in Stockton as well, man, and give my condolences to the people who's lost, the survivors that made it through, the kids that aren't no longer here, and the ones that are here that, had to witness that, and we just trying to basically bring some light to the community, light to the youth when it comes to YOP groups, even when it comes to the older generation and adults, because it starts with us. So many times we always get that influence behind these scenarios that, this is something that just is what it is, where it's really not. It really starts with us. And some of these programs that we involved with nowadays, I'm a SUDRC, which is a substance use disorder registered counselor, and I counsel guys every week in two different groups for Victims Impact, Thinking for Change, and a few different curriculums like living in balance, coping skills, life skills. And we dedicate this to the people who may not have had, mentors in their life, may not have had no stable environment, or may come from gang backgrounds or wherever you may come from, all different walks of life. But we preaching positivity, we preaching being pro-social, and we trying to preach excellence to this population that we currently involved with. And so we got a lot of different programs and organizations that we allow us to give them a hand, even though we're incarcerated. And a couple of them, I have my own organization, a nonprofit organization, and that's called Blessed Recovery Agency. I also deal with a couple other agencies, Heart of Gold Care, Feed a Second Chance, and these are organizations that are actively in the community, whether it be for sustainable living, housing navigation, and also agriculture, sustainable living. So we're doing a lot of different things. We're trying to bring some things into the prison as far as other programs that can be based in here for different populations, but we particularly are gearing things towards the youth and using these nonviolent communications and try to just build a healthier environment, man. That's what we're basically doing here.
Okay, TC.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Just like Brother Rob, man. I'm deeply involved in a whole bunch of self-help groups, man, rehabilitative groups and stuff, man. Things that I personally, that's
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Like CGA, which is Criminal Gangs Anonymous, anger management, denial management, victims awareness, victims impact, other groups like relapse prevention and things like that. But right now I'm currently just starting a deep dive into another
You
facility.
have 60 seconds remaining.
I just now entered into a facilitator's program where I'm trying to get a certification, man, for a YOP mentor. That way I'll be certified, to directly deal, with the YOPs here in this institution. And it goes hand in hand with a program that, that I've been working on for some time now. It's really, it's a youth-based program. It's a boxing program, and it's called the Solano Training Academy. And we're in the final phases of getting this program approved here at this institution. And this program, a lot of people, they think it's mostly about boxing. Yes, it is about boxing, but maybe like 20%, but it's more so 80% curriculum based. You know what I'm saying? And the curriculum, the program focus is to reduce violence here in this prison. Not just this prison, but any general population mainline prison in California. And it also deals with psychological development, physical training, and boxing discipline, and it's preparing individuals for reentry. And it deals with legacy and brotherhood. So, and this program has a whole bunch of key components and a whole bunch of key sponsors, primary sponsors, direct sponsors, secondary sponsors. So, the aim is to work with, guys like you, Alex, and Skip Townsend at Second Call, and also closely work with the staff here in the facility. Our primary sponsors, guy named, Correctional Officer Evans, he's our primary sponsor, and, work with other sponsors like, Floyd Mayweather, like Devin Haney, like Zab Shooter, and, folks like that, These are the people that believe in the program, they believe in what we're doing, and they heavily invested in the work that we're trying to do. So, the main objective to this training facility, man, this academy, to provide incarcerated men with evidence-based strategies for reducing violence, and managing their emotions and developing self-control, and preparing for successful reentry into society. The curriculum that combines psychological principles with the discipline of boxing to inspire and transform responsibility and respect, you know what I'm saying, to all people. So that's just a beginner layout of what's to come, of what's going on, the work that we doing here in Solano. You know what I'm saying? Solano is a real progressive institution, man. You know what I'm saying? It's an institution where you gotta kind of, hit the pavement running on what you want to do, and you know what I'm saying, and find your niche, and you know what I'm saying, and a lot of guys like me and Rob, man, we done found our niche here, Alex.
Okay, I want to ask you about the prison itself, Solano. If you guys could maybe help us picture what this prison is like, how is it structured, where is it located, and I guess we could start with Rob on his perspective of what this prison is like.
Oh yeah, Solano is in Vacaville, California, and it's a level 3 prison and a level 2 also. And coming from the 4 to here, where it's high intensity, high alert all day, coming here, it depends on your program, because we could be in an atmosphere where, it can be hypervigilant. It can be things that go on and exist in time. But like the brother just said about, it's all about what are you doing with your program. If you want on a lifestyle of change or positive programming, it could be something that could be eye-opening for you, and it could be opportunities as far as when it's dealing with different programs, and they're giving incarcerated individuals like me and TC be able to implement these programs and bring them within these facilities. And this is really the first facility that I've been to that really will allow and support, the right people and the right individuals that's actually trying to bring some positivity through a hostile environment. Now, on the other hand, if you want to get into anything and you ain't positive programming, that's available for the guys that's there, that's into that. And, they maybe just maybe their first trip into prison or whatever the case may be. And we got that a lot. We see that a lot within the youth, where the lack of guidance, the lack of structure, and gives those idle down times is what we can call them, where, they either into some type of drug, substance abuse, or they into some type of gang, violence behind things. And so we see many different masses on different individuals when it comes to prison. What we try to do is just at least bring in some good things, because there is avenues for whatever way you want to go. Whichever way you want to go on the fork in the road, it's available for you. But we trying to show people the light at the end of the tunnel, because if you are in prison, the ending goal is freedom, no matter what your sentence may be. No one really wants to stay stuck in prison or stuck in the environment they in. But sometimes we have obstacles and hurdles that's in front of us that gives us those blind spots to say that we may be hopeless in some ways, from not being in touch with our emotions or being in touch with our values, or even understanding our core beliefs behind what we're doing, so we can actually dictate the behavior that we're doing. First we got to be able to process that behavior, understand that behavior, in order to change it. And this is the coping skills that we've been trying to implement and bring into prison, and show the youth, it's all right to stand on your toes as a man. So it's okay to understand yourself and be in tune with your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings, to understand what you're going through in time, so you can make better decisions. So, that's what we see when we in prison.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That lack of not understanding, a lot of the trouble with the youth is going into that, and some of the youth really don't know if they could be heard or have those open spaces where they can be safe in an environment where they can actually talk about their problems. So just for us to be able to implement that with boxing programs and other types of programs that we're bringing in here, man, it's big, it's major, man. It's definitely major.
All right, TC, talk about Solano from your perspective.
Well, shit, man. Yeah, Alex, you pretty much already know a great deal of my backstory, bro. You know what I'm saying? I come from, level 4 maximum security institutions, man. And I spent a great deal of my time, man. You know, going from one 180 to the next, man. One maximum security to the next, man. And coming here to this prison, man. I'm gonna give you an overview of what I seen, personally from pulling up here, coming from a maximum security, man, where it's just high strung, man, and level 4s is just a reactionary spots, man. Shit happen and you react to it, so that's what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? That's just what the situation calls for. But when I came here to this institution, man, you know what I'm saying? I kind of had a different feel, a different, perspective, man, because, when the bus pulled on the Peabody Road and it got off the freeway, man, the first thing I began to notice, man, when the bus was pulling up, I seen that the prison was smack dab in the middle of a damn community.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And, the prison was in the middle of a community, bro, and I was like, it's different. It seemed different because normally, the high deserts and the Pelican Bays and the Kern Valleys, man, that shit in the middle of nowhere. Ain't no community around that. And so, bus pulled in, I said, okay, it's a community right here. And then that's when I got off the bus, I'm sitting in the R&R, and they said, okay, you going to, the Alpha Yard, to the PPF facility and shit, which is a positive program facility, also a general population yard. So when I got to the yard, I looked, I'm like, damn, this ain't like no maximum security. I'm like, this shit kind of look like a college set. They got a college look to it. And so when I looked at the back of the prison, the second thing I seen, man, I noticed nature. I noticed this hill, man, with, you know what I'm saying? You can see, birds flying, hawks and shit, and falcons, and you can see fucking, deer shit all on the hill. I'm like, damn, that's nature right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never really been this close to nature. You know what I'm saying? Being somebody that's from like the inner city, I ain't never really seen no type of nature. So that was new to me too. And so, once I hit the yard for the first time, and I was meeting, different people, and I was starting to notice that, a lot of guys was proactive in what they was doing. Whether it was programming or college or school or just, metal fab, plumbing, welding. So I ran into a whole bunch of guys that was proactive, and then so I started to come to realize, hey man, this prison right here, man, this ain't like no level 4. This is a pro-social setting. You know what I'm saying? The way the inmates, deal with each other, the way, the custody staff deal with inmates, everything is pro-social here. You see what I'm saying? It's not anti-social. Level 4s, man, we used to that anti-socialism. We used to that kind of behavior. But here, it's not that. It's the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? This institution right here actually prepares you to re-enter into society. That's what this prison is all about.
All right, well, let me ask you guys.
Get out.
Let me ask you guys this. You guys both mentioned being on level 4s and compared it to where you're at now. Give us a understanding and an explanation on what it's like to be on a level 4, I guess, active yard compared to where you guys are at now. And we'll start with Rob.
Yeah, man, I came from Calipat, Kern Valley, you know what I'm saying? So Calipat was the last level 4 that I was at before I got transferred over here. And it's funny, man. When I'm in my groups, I tell a lot of young guys that when they never been to a 4, and they like, man, well, I'm about to get shot to the 4, man. I just, fucked my program off or whatever. And I'm like, man, I really look at it like, man, you got a journey, a lot of growth to do, because when you start out on a 4 yard, it ain't no candy land. People always is getting into something. You always see.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You see death around you. It's a whole different type of setting, a whole different type of environment. When it comes to not just the police, but the inmates, how the program is structured. Everybody's on pins and needles. Everybody is hyper vigilant. Everybody is waiting for something to happen. At any given time, everybody is on alert, high alert. And like TC, it's like like TC said, man, like you stuck in the middle of nowhere, you know, in the desert somewhere, you know, where ain't nothing else around but just you in that prison, you know? And so it's definitely a different type of environment that's violent at all times and, you know, any means necessary for survival when we in those settings and on a level 4 yard.
TC, level 4.
Mm-hmm. Shit, man. I've been to so many of them, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, each level 4, man, each maximum security, man, it's got its own, you know, component breakdown of how it is and shit, you know what I'm saying? And for the most part, man, you know, it's dangerous, bro. It's highly violent, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's reactionary based and shit, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, for me coming in as a youngster and shit, you know,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Okay, yeah, man. Yeah, bro. You know, for me, man, coming in, you know, as a youngster and shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Being dropped off, you know, on a level 4, man, on a maximum security yard. You know, that shit is just like polarizing and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, we all boxed in on this yard on this condensed ass area, and we got the worst of the worst. That's what they consider as the worst of the worst, man. So, you know, at any given moment, man, with any given issue, you know what I'm saying? You know, extreme violence, man, can be demonstrated at any time, bro. You know what I mean? And that's basically how level 4 prisons operate. That's how it go, man. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, at the same time, you know, coming in, man, I learned a lot of structure and discipline and principles and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I learned how to do my time on the level 4 prisons. I learned how to, you know, really, you know, dig deep within myself, man, and find out, man, who I really am as an individual, man, as a man, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's the one thing I learned, I took from level 4 institution living, man. You know what I'm saying? How to dig deep and figure out who I am, man, and how to become, you know, the best version of my damn self, man. And, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, yeah, man, you know, level 4s, they fucked up. They got a lot of bad to them, man, but, you know, you can also find the good in them, too. You know what I'm saying? And that's my take on it, you know?
And I'm assuming both you brothers are talking about general population level 4 yards as opposed to PC and SNY yards, right?
Yeah.
Is that
general population institution?
Is that an important distinction to say that I'm on a GP yard? And if so, why? And we'll start with Rob.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, man, like, you know, it's definitely a difference, you know, when it comes to general population and going S&Y, you know, because we in an environment where it's already a hostile environment, but if, you know, when you separate in the S&Y or a PC yard or whatever you would want to call it, you know, those walking through those journeys of life and the people who are going to those S&Ys and stuff, man, you really, it's a no man's land. You know, the rules, the structure, everything is different, you know, because most of the people that are in those situations that go through those, you know, their charges may be different from sex offenders or whatever it may be, you know, and it's a definite hostile, hot environment at all times, even on those places, you know. But being able to be in a general population institution, you know, there's more of a structure. You know, there's more things that you don't have to worry about as far as when it comes to political things within the prison. And so there is a difference for sure.
TC?
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, you know, I'm kind of like piggyback off what Rob said, man, but, you know, on another note, you know what I'm saying, you know, a lot of those dudes that's over there, man, they made their choice to be over there, man, for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And at one point in time, man, them dudes was, you know, a lot of them dudes may have been, you know, riders. They may have been solid. They may have been disciplined and structured. But somewhere along the line or somewhere along the way, man, you know what I'm saying, they dropped the ball on all that discipline and structure. They fucked up. They made mistakes, and they had to pay the price, man, through who having, violence implemented on them. You know what I'm saying? And they made a choice, man, to take that walk and go over here. You know what I'm saying? And, that's on them, man. That's their journey. You know what I'm saying? Being on a general population yard, man, it's GP yard, man, an active GP yard, man, it's totally different, man, because it's rules and regulations, man, it's structures and everything that you got to abide by over here or pay the price of, have to take your ass over there.
Okay, so if you guys are trying to get involved in positive things like Solano has to offer, what does an inmate do if he's forced to go to a level 4 yard where these programs might not be there for him? And we'll start with Rob.
See, the good part about CDCR, there's a lot of expansion going on when it comes to programs. Like I'm in a program right now called OMCP, which is Occupational Mentor Certification Program, which specializes in AOD counseling. AOD stands for alcohol and other drug counseling. So what they're doing is they're implementing and extending light to places like level 4s or level 3s because 1s and 2s are pretty much overcrowded with this program. But these are the individuals that's in prison that are help running and facilitating drug treatment programs within the facility. And so they are giving that olive branch and extending it, to level 4s and 3s in a lot of different ways, like the brother TC said earlier about certain vocational courses, whether it be welding, plumbing, and et cetera, those are extended also to these level 4s as well. But now it's becoming a lot more extended when it comes to life skills and coping skills and things like that through programs like OMCP.
TC, the same question about being on a level 4, and I always assumed that you didn't have access to some of the better programs if you were on a level 4.
Nah. Well, as you know, man, I've been in 2+ decades, right? And so, coming in, man, they didn't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so, prison was a cesspool of violence and negativity and dysfunction and shit. So I think the only thing they had, man, when I first came to the joint, man, was like AANA. You know what I mean? And you would hear about certain lower levels like like Solano and Old Folsom and certain institutions, man, where they had all this good shit going on, and that shit was like mythical and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I'll never be able to get there. I got too many points. You know what I'm saying? So with D, it was like after fucking up on these level 4s for so long, man, and being out in and out the hole, in and out the shoe, and just in and out of prison politics.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I think I made a personal choice, bro, the last time I was in the shoe. You know what I'm saying? So it was really like on me. I made a personal choice to start, my personal transformation. You know what I'm saying? Basically saying to myself, hey, man, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of, being on these level 4s. I'm tired of coming in and out the holes in the shoes. And I need to get my ass to a lower level, man, where a lot of these programs, all of this good shit that's there, it can be afforded to me. You know what I'm saying? I got to get there to be able to get it because it just wasn't happening on level 4s. They didn't have none of this shit. They didn't have OMCP and SAP and all that stuff and, vocational trades and shit on level 4 yards. It just wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make a personal choice, man. Let me stop, let me get my shit together, man. Let me start asking myself some tough questions, man. Let me start reflecting on, what am I doing? Where am I going with my time? Do I want to just be stuck in prison for the rest of my life, or do I want to try to make it about this motherfucker? And if I want to do that, I need to get my ass down here to Solano, where it's proactive, it's pro-social, and they got all this good shit going on. And I made a choice, man. I made a choice back in 2013, man, 2014, man. I was in the shoe, and that's when I started asking myself these tough questions, man. Do I want to continue on, with violence and politics and level 4 prison living, or do I want to, try to get my ass down to this lower level, get my points down, man, and eventually, man, I made it. I I made it. I was at Salinas Valley. You know what I'm saying? They were just now starting to talk about these behavioral override transfers to level 4 to level 3s. And I was on the level 4. I was in Salinas Valley, man, on they maximum custody level 4 yard. And my counselor called me to the office for my annual, and he was like, "Hey, man, you know, you've been clean for a couple of years now, man. You think you might want to get a disciplinary level 3 transfer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Shit, I mean, like, where can I go?" He like, "Shit, man, they got Lancaster and they got Solano." And that was my chance. I was like, "Okay, I'm taking mine to Solano." You know what I mean? So he put me up for Solano, man, and you know, the rest was history, man. I'm here now.
Okay, now you mentioned the shoe. I want you guys to speak on when the prison decides to remove you off the yard and put you into either the shoe or ad seg or solitary confinement, and what is that experience like when the prison tries to isolate you away from the rest of the prison, Rob?
Man, that's, anytime you go onto the shoe or get any type of, get caught with a weapon, get caught with drugs or, stabbing or whatever the case may be, and you land yourself in the shoe, it's for sure a different experience. Anytime you in the hole, that isolation gives you a moment to think. And also, anybody that's doing bad or doing wrong or into trouble, that's where you're going to find them. So the people that you might not have seen on the yard, they might, 9 times out of 10, they might be back in the shoe, just waiting for their guys to step in the building, So just having that fact where you cut off from, everything your
this
family.
Call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Being back to writing letters to your family, missing out on those phone calls that you used to, and all that, man. It's a real experience, man, and it really. When you in that shoe or you in the hole, man, you get a chance to really try to find yourself, because you by yourself at that point. You might be isolated, you may have a celly, but that's all you seeing. You seeing that isolation. You get in a shower, you might get a phone call once a month, and it's back to writing those letters again, and you really, if you got family out there that love you or used to talking to you, you may lose connections. You may lose your girl while you back there, depending on how long you back there for. So it's an experience, man. When you got to go through those isolation periods, and them bumps and bruises down your road or your journey when you in prison.
TC, the shoe.
The shoe, man. I mean, shit, man. The shoe. It usually came. For me, it usually came, man. When I got caught with a knife or burner, or when I had to handle my business on the yard and implement violence, you know what I'm saying? Or, whether it was fisticuffs or whether it was, the use of a weapon or whatever the case. So, going to the hole, man, it's like, okay, it's the hole. You know what I'm saying? You don't got much, but the hole is ass egg is kind of. It's not easy, but it's not hard to do. You know what I'm saying? It's not polarizing, but when you get to that shoe, man, it's going to the shoe, man. It's like okay, this it's like, damn, I'm in jail. They're taking me to jail, and I'm already in jail. You know what I mean? It's like you're starting all over. You're starting all over, so you don't got all those little amenities and none of that shit in the shoe. You don't got no. You don't got your boom box, and you don't got your TV. You don't got all your clothes and shoes, and you don't got your CD players, and you don't got all those knickknacks and shit that you normally would have, on the line. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of dudes have their people looking out for you, so they take all that shit from you. You don't got shit. You know what I'm saying? You gonna get what's that shit, Rob? A pack full of tooth powder, a security.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
The intricate pack.
The shoe is sure. And then you start from scratch. And, you know what I'm saying? And then you just in this gray area until you get up. And that shit is just uncomfortable, bro.
Okay, so my next question, since you.
So, hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Hey, just to make a quick highlighted note on that shoe, man. A lot of people, they're not really aware of the psychological effects, man, the traumatic effects, man, that's caused from being in that shoe, man. You know what I'm saying? That shoe, man, is that solitary confinement, man, that segregated housing unit, man. That shit, you know, it affects people in a way where a lot of people they didn't make it from that shoe, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people lost their lives. They died back there, man, because of the, you know, the sensory deprivation and, you know what I'm saying, the sleep deprivation and all the shit that, you know, that was put on them, this shit from being in that shoe. So it's a lot of awareness, man, that needs to be, you know, brought to the surface, brought to light, man, on, you know, traumas, man, that's inflicted on people just by being in solitary confinement, man. And I can attest to that, man, because I'm somebody that spent a lot of time in that shoe, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and a lot of people didn't make it, man, because of the, you know, psychological effects and the psychological trauma that they suffer from being back there, man. So, you know, that's a whole other topic. You know what I'm saying? But let's move along.
Okay. Well, I have a related question because now that you guys are in Solano,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
okay, now that you guys are in Solano and you guys are taking advantage of these programs, and if you get sent to the shoe, as you guys said, you got to start all over. You know, you got to start fresh. You probably lose some privileges. How have you adjusted differently as being at Solano, knowing that I'm assuming you guys don't want to go to the shoe while you're at Solano? Well, we'll start with Rob.
Yeah. So, you know, me in particular, man, you know, I move righteous, you know, wherever I'm at, you know, and when you're making them better choices, those better decisions, you know, you have a lot to lose on your plate, especially if you done work hard for what you have. What little bit we have, we got to be grateful for, even the minuscule things we have, you know, and being able to not be in the shoe right now, you know, and be able to go to attend college or attend my program, be able to do facilitation, you know, and really put my hands out to be of service to my community I'm in. You know, all that will get stripped away from one wrong decision. You know, one fuck up will take all that away. And like TC said, man, it's just starting over. You know, that's detrimental. You know, if your program is for progression. You know.
Definitely, TC.
Yeah. So, you know, different life choices, bro. You know what I mean? Like if you in a spot like this, and you done came from all that dysfunction, which is level 4s and, you know, solitary confinement and shit. You know, for me, it's life choices, man. Like, you know, it's a lifestyle change, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if I want to continue, you know what I'm saying, my past behavior, man, I just keep conducting myself in the manner of how I was conducting myself back then. You know what I'm saying? That just it'll carry on. But, you know, when you start making different, you know, life choices, man, and your life start moving in a different trajectory, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you start thinking to the future of, you know, one day, you know, re-entering back into society, man, and being a working class citizen in the society, and, you know, and having a family, and, you know, and having, you know, a career and real friends and shit, respectable friends. So, you know, my choices change. You know what I'm saying? My decisions change. You know what I mean? And I started making, you know, positive choices and positive decisions. And one of them was like, shit, man, I got married. You know what I'm saying? I was in a relationship. You know, I was in relationships before in the past when I was fucking up. And I was on the phone in the shoe. But them relationships didn't last, man. And not just because I was there, but because my intentions was bad for the person I was with. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have good intentions. But once I started making positive changes to my life, with, you know, with hey, man, I want to be off that level 4. I don't want to be in that shoe. I'm going to do something different. You know what I'm saying? So my intentions became more pure. You know what I'm saying? You know, the things I wanted became, you know what I'm saying, more positive and progressive. And, you know what I'm saying? And even with my spouse, with my wife, with my woman, man, like, you know, I didn't have, ill intent for it. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to love her and care for it and deal with her. And, and that's something right there that'll make a motherfucker not want to go back to no 40 order to no shoot, man. Just, having somebody that's dedicated and loyal to you and that loves you, that unconditional love for you. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a life change, bro. It's a choice.
Now, how have your circle of friends have changed from being on a level 4 where it's way more active and you're socializing with a certain type of group there to the type of people you're socializing with now at Solano? What's changed in your peers, in the groups and the friends that you hang out with, Rob?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. As a man, I always stood, and moved on my own accord. You know what I'm saying? So I can't necessarily say like I'm around positive, pro-social, proactive people at all times, highly intelligent, highly frequency and functioning people at all times. So like minds think alike. Like TC is one of my brothers, and we got a lot of other brothers that are on the same frequency levels. But coming from the environments we coming from, I'm coming
This
from.
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And TC coming from the LA area, real always gonna recognize real, no matter where you at. But everybody ain't real when it comes to choices. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of gotta wean out, to take the good to one side and push the bad to the opposite side, depending on what their behavior is. But that never means that in the environment that we in, that our hands ain't out, because we came from that dysfunctional lifestyles. And so we only got a choice but to put our hands into it in the right way. So the people done cut off and said, hey, we no longer want to deal with these people, that ain't us, because we came from that. So coming from that, we understand it. And that's the reason why a lot of the things when it comes to prison nowadays, that they have people like us that's implementing these programs, because they, people understand it. The administration understands it. Like, we got people that actually change due to their circumstances and within this environment, and they're the answer to the people who may still be in a dysfunction, to show them how you change. Because everybody need a light when it comes to the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? It just depends on what spectrum that they're looking at it on. And so for us to say, hey, we turned our back on anything, I would never say that, man. I'm here 10 toes down wherever environment I'm in, and I'm here to help in a pro-social way. So I'm going back into the place where they just said, hey, the youth, hey, they lost, man. We can't do nothing with them. Let them over there. Now we going over there to go pull them out the mud. That's what we doing.
TC, was there a change? Was there a change in your circle when you finally got off the level 4 and got to Solano?
In a way, man, it was a change within my circle, because it was a change within myself. You know what I'm saying? I first had to make the change within myself. And man, you know the saying, man, as a man thinketh, man, the way a man thinketh, is what he produces, you know what I'm saying? And all my, a lot of my homies, man, I still got, tons of love and respect, and I still dialogue with many of them, you know what I'm saying? But, that dialogue is different on my end, because, you know what I'm saying, I progressed in my life, I evolved in my life, you know what I'm saying? So, my dialogue to them ain't to change them. It's just, I'm on a different journey, you know what I'm saying, from a lot of my, my road dogs from the past that may be from my set, man, or, from other joining sets, what I'm saying, that dudes I might frequent with. But, now it's like, I find myself, having dialogue and spending time with a lot of dudes that's of like mind, man, that's evolved, man, that's evolved thinkers, man, advanced thinkers and enlightened thinkers and doers and stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, shit, man, I still love my niggas, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm always beat from where I'm from, bro, you know what I'm saying? And that ain't gonna change, but I'm just on a different trajectory in my life, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so if you had the power
If you're
at Solano Prison right now, and there's one thing that you can change in that prison, what would you do? What change would you bring to that prison right now if you had the power and the influence to do it? And we'll start with Rob.
And if I had the power to change anything in Solano, it would be the resources, man. It would be bringing more resources to the prison, man, whether it be for legal and litigation teams, things like that. And also, implementing more structure when it comes into these programs, man, being able to get the youth more involved and facilitating and being able to be in touch with, not only themselves but their community as well, because, so many of us grew up in environments where we may not have seen people actually giving that hand or don't know how that looks. So being able to implement those types of life skills, within the facility, man, that's what I would like to see, man. Letting people actually see, man, that there is help out there, that there is resources available that take people to that pinnacle on whatever they need to change in their life, and that they know that they have.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear your last sentence, Rob.
Yeah, just having people know that to reach that pinnacle in life, wherever it may be in their life, that they have that support, within their environment and have the proper resources to get them where their goals need to be.
What would you change at the prison if you had the power to do so, TC?
Shit, man. A lot of the same thing of what Rob said, man. Resources, man. You know what I'm saying? Bringing more resources and awareness to the institution. You know what I'm saying? Rather it's like, legal insight. You know what I'm saying? Legislative insight. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, we can have forums and symposiums and shit for lawyers and
You have 60 seconds remaining.
judges and experts and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And just bring more awareness, man, because it's like, for me, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm a living, walking, breathing, you know what I'm saying, functioning example of progression, man, and rehabilitation and transformity. You know what I'm saying? And, to this program I'm pushing, to this academy that I'm pushing. And, just being of service, man, that's being of service to others is my passion, bro. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, bringing more programs, bringing more resources, and just, really tapping into the youth, man, to these YOPs here, man, and really, helping them, opening up their minds, man, to seeing their greatness and what they can accomplish, man, if they just, you know what I'm saying? Man, the youth, they need this. You know what I'm saying? They need this, man. They need to, they need to tap in to their greatness, man. And we believe that more resources, man, more insight, man, more positive programming brought here, man. More, you know what I'm saying, insight from lawyers and DAs and judges and experts. You know what I'm saying? They need that kind of insight. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these youngsters, man, they lost, man. They lost in the sauce on kind of the same bullshit me and Rob was lost on when we first came into the prison setting. You know what I'm saying? So,
Now that takes me to my last question. When a youngster comes in that's in his late teens, 18, 19, 20, 21, early 20s, he's going to want to go through the same stuff that y'all went through, and it seems like it's very difficult to try to change the path of a youngster. So what do you what's the challenge when you meet someone on the yard that's 21 years old? We'll start with Rob.
Man, I see it all the time in my groups, the ones that come in at YOPs where they still, it's 5 stages of change, man, and most of the gentlemen that come in there, man, they stuck in that pre-contemplation, which is translated into I won't. They finding every excuse to say, I won't because of something. and it's really transition them. There's 5 stages: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. So to get them over the threshold to that action stage where they starting to be like, you know what, I got to implement not only doing what I'm saying that I'm going to do, but how do I make it congruent to what I'm doing? So pushing them in that action stage, it's hard sometimes because you got to get the youth to understand, what they were really going through. Some people have those ACEs, those childhood experiences that they don't know how to deal with their trauma yet. And that's the thing that you got to get them in tune with, to be like, we know you went through something, but how do we recognize it? How do we process it? And how do we figure out how we can make better choices and change that cycle of thinking? Our thoughts going to lead to our feelings going to lead to our behavior. And you gotta show them that transition period to really get them to understand, like, damn, this is what I was going through. This is the reason why I was thinking, and this is the reason why I was feeling this way, and this is the reason why I was acting out. And to get them to change that cycle, you have to show them that. You got to be able to paint that picture for them and give them that glimpse in time. Like, man, this is the reason why I was doing this, because everybody wants to know the why. Everybody wants to know the why. Why was I doing this? And some people don't know that. So just getting them in tune with themselves and giving them that insight to show them, like, there's better choices, man. This is what we were doing. But nobody is born evil in this world. No matter if it's based on our environments or our surroundings or our peers or whatever that's the catalyst that turns us into this lifestyle. There's a moment of trauma that's attached to it. And pulling them out of that trauma, it may start from their adulthood or it may start from their childhood. But we gotta go get that glimpse in the past to be able to change the future and progress.
TC, how many times have you seen a youngster hit the yard and you said to yourself, that was me at one time? And how do you communicate with that youth?
Shit, man, I done seen that youngster hit the yard, man, quite a few times. You know what I'm saying? And the way I communicate with him is, hey, man, I know you want to do your thing, and I know you want to, create a reputation for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that may be, but hey, man, it ain't worth it. You know what I'm saying? The game done changed now. With how CDCR and the courts is operating and shit. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I was telling youngsters, man, back then when I came in, man. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't get no DA referral for no banger or nothing like that. You wouldn't get no DA referral for no GBI or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? That shit was just, a right up to the hole and then back to the line or to the shoe or whatever. Nowadays, you know what I'm saying? You got extra time for that shit. You know what I'm saying? You got so much extra time to where you be buried in this motherfucker by the time. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like my message to him, I said, hey, man, it ain't even worth it, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to, prove yourself. Now, I know you probably want to, get your reputation up and all that old shit. You want to do your thing. You want to create a name for yourself because at one point in time, man, we all wanted to create a name for ourselves when we came up here. We all wanted to be respected and looked at as, a rider or somebody that's respectable behind these prison walls and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, I was just telling the youngster, man, hey, man, you got a choice, man. You can either go right or you can go wrong. You know what I'm saying? And what I've turned to do, to a couple of youngsters, I just whip out all my past experiences, man. I whip out my paperwork, like, you don't want to go through this. You don't want to go through this. You don't want to go through that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this shit I went through, man, and I've been through in prison. A lot of dudes probably would have tapped out. You know what I'm saying? So my message to youngsters is, man, you don't want to do none of that bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even worth it. You know what I'm saying? Here, if you young and you come into Solano for a reason, they're giving you a chance because, hey, man, we didn't have that chance. You know what I'm saying? It was just, okay, this youngster, he committed a murder. He got all day. He's staying in here. Whereas now, these youngsters, they come from the county jail, they go to reception, bro. You know what I'm saying? They counselors, TCR, they actually taking the time out to consider these dudes' placement. You know what I'm saying? And they giving them a chance. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get that chance when we first came in. You know what I'm saying? You going to Pelican Bay. You going to High Desert. You going to Kern Valley. You going to Salinas Valley. You going to New Folsom. Now, they actually consider these cats. Say, man, you see all the trauma this dude.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, these are correctional counselors and CSR that's having these consideration on these youngsters and shit by saying, we see the trauma he went through in the streets. We see the trauma he went through in his household. We see what was going on in the county jail. We see what happened in court. You know what I'm saying? How do we stop the cycle of dysfunction for these young dudes? Let's not send them to High Desert. Let's send them to Solano. You know what I'm saying? Maybe once we get to Solano, you know what I'm saying, he'll see all the progression, he'll see all the pro-social behavior and conduct that's going on, and he'll fall into that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they exhibit in CBI and CBT, man, when these dudes come to prison, come to county. You know what I'm saying? And so that would be our message to these youngsters. Hey, man, they sent you here for a reason. They sent you here to get it, man. Get out and don't come back to prison. So why fuck that off when you got to go up out the way to a level 4, and then you get buried in the bullshit. You get buried in the dysfunction. You know what I'm saying? You get buried in your trauma. You get buried in the shit that you ain't even trying to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So that's my message to youngsters, Alex.
All right, man. On that note, we're going to wrap it up right there. And we'll be back next week with another message from behind Solano State Prison.